how's the status of Darren White? Don't see him on there. I imagine there's a reason. Could you give us an update on him and the rest of your injury report?
The best I can do is say it would look doubtful. We're waiting for a MRI, but initially, and I'll try not to keep anything from you guys, I would say it looks doubtful that we'll have it the rest of the year. Now, I've said that before and come back Monday, and all of a sudden, the MRI is not as bad, and that's what we're hoping for, but right now things do not look very promising for you.
Coach, you mentioned liking what Ryan Cummings did. Just can you evaluate what you saw from him and also from Trappigan starting on the other side?
You know what? There were good things and bad. The thing that we appreciated about Ryan, to come out and start in a Mountain West game over in Hawaii against some pretty physical guys, he competed really hard. And, well, technically he can improve on some things. We were very, very pleased with his, he was not out of his element. It wasn't like he was intimidated. And so while he'll technically and assignment-wise can play better, we really appreciated his competitive nature, and we'll build on that. And so he'll come in and he'll start this next week. And those experiences for a true freshman are invaluable. There's learning stages that you go through as a freshman, but they will serve both Ryan and our football team well. Concerning Trappigan, he competed hard, but you're looking at a guy that's played guard to tackle, to this tackle, to that tackle. Certainly to get him in a one spot is going to be helpful. We are in hopes that we'll have Connor Raines this week, and so that's going to give us some luxury to swing one guy around one way or the other.
What kind of just maturity does it take for a freshman to come in, his first game playing at all, in a road situation like that, and be able to, like you said, compete the way that he was able to?
I think it takes a great deal of maturity, but what you'll find is guys who are competitive, that are not intimidated by either an opponent or the situation. We appreciate, I'm sure there were butterflies, but if there were, he didn't show them. And for a first-time start in that situation, we're pleased with his effort and his productivity, and I think there's a lot out there for him. We think that there's a bright future for Ryan Cummings.
Craig, you mentioned the tackling and the busted assignments in the secondary. Look, you're midway through the season. You're just not going to start from scratch, but is it just going back and continuing to work on the fundamentals and technique, or is there anything else you plan to do this week to try to rectify those?
The easiest thing to fix, Robert, is the missed assignments, the blown coverages. When you see a guy just run wide open, I think everybody can figure out that's not schemed up that way. And so that's a mental thing. Some of the things in tackling, there's always it's always easy to say what's easy. Those guys aren't trying hard. That's not the case. There's some technical things that you can do to improve tackling, and some of it, just like when our guy breaks a tackle, it's because you're placing a pretty good running back, and so angles of pursuit are going to be worked on, and there were a couple assignment errors that when the guy's running free, when no one's there to tackle him, well then that's a schematic problem. So there's give and take. Structurally, there's things that we're going to work on this week, and we'll have our hands full. San Jose may not present the problems of a big, strong runner running through there, but they're going to present problems with speed, and so angles of pursuit are really going to be important.
You mentioned the angles of pursuit, Craig. Look, we're in a day and age where you don't do the Oklahoma drill in practice to work on. I don't assume you're going to. I don't assume you're going to start doing that. So is it just more about the technique and the angles and stuff instead of just live tackling drills to shore some of those?
I think to say we're halfway through the season, for us to go out there and have a bull in the ring and we're going to get tougher, and that's going to be counterproductive. I mean, we're not going to improve our tackling that way. What we are going to do is improve our tackling by making sure that we have different guys at the point of attack, and we need to credit Hawaii some. They presented some schemes that were challenging, but I think we need to take ownership of that. And as coaches, we need to take ownership of that to see some marked improvement this week. And some of it, more than anything else, is making sure our guys are in the right position. You're going to see every once in a while a guy in the right position and somebody bowl you over. Okay. What's got to happen is there's got to be 2 or 3 guys there to replace him, and we didn't have that Saturday.
Coach, obviously, probably missing, Darren White this week. Just talk about, what's the challenge like and how much faith you have in the younger guys as far as Xavier or Will, those guys that are going to have to step in and pick up the load there.
We're going to coach them up and put them in a position where they're going to have the best chance for success, and that is going to be a challenge. You don't have a guy like Darren just take him out of the mix and say everything's exactly the same. And so, our motto's always been the next guy's got to man up and go in there. But we'll look and say what kind of things can we do that put these guys in position to be successful. Some of it is going to be some of the same things that we did last week, and then there's going to be things that we'll have to do to change the scheme to make sure that they are given the chance to be successful.
Do you have stats on Jesse Sampson on the strong side? Will he be available this week, or do you know yet?
We're hopeful. He'll be out there at practice. What his mobility is like, Robert, will know as the week goes along. You can certainly check, but I'd venture to say he's going to practice this week, and I would say it would be probable that we'll have him, which is encouraging because there's an experienced player that can come back, but how he's going to be is going to be interesting as the week comes along. But I've been told he can practice tonight.
You don't have a lot of guys there at safety. Is there any guys you can, maybe not burn a red shirt necessarily, but to maybe integrate in there and get them some snaps in case something else goes on?
We'll need to, and we're in the process of finalizing that right now as we speak. And that's been I can tell you this, is I don't know how it was. I got off the plane, went home, took a shower, and been going ever since. And so that's our plan.
Coach,
Craig, what's the biggest challenge coming off a game like you said, maybe one of the first ones where you felt you let it slip away? What's the biggest challenge this week to get this team back focused?
Well, I do think jet lag comes into play. I mean, there's no, and to say that that's not going to have a factor is pretty short-sighted. That's going to come into play. It's good that these guys are young. They're younger than the coaches, but that's going to come into play. And then also showing our guys that, we let one slip away here. And here's what occurred, and this is what we got to do to remedy it. The other losses you could chalk up to some they're a top 10 team. Here was a Mountain West team that we were 11 points up on the road and had a chance to win, and we didn't do it. And that's that next step in the process that you go through. And so I think paying attention to detail and. But there is also going to be a challenge with our personnel. You don't have that number of changeovers and think that that's not going to have an impact. So, like I said earlier, we're going to need to find out what we can do to position these guys to put ourselves in the best chance to win.
Coach,
and we have we have a challenge. This San Jose team, I think, showed significant improvement this last week. I mean, they played much better. It was very impressive what they did.
Seems like, week after week you see Mark and Zacha, making all these plays and kind of all over the stat sheet. I guess just how valuable has he been, just being someone who's been there, it seems like every week for you guys?
Well, he certainly has been very valuable, and he's been valuable on special teams. He's covering kickoffs. He's on our punt team, and he's had meaningful reps in the game. He caused a huge turnover against Florida Atlantic, and he's healthy, and so we'll utilize him well, and he'll need to play well, this week against San Jose for us to have a chance to win.
San Jose made a quarterback change a few weeks ago. Seems like that's going pretty well. What have you noticed from the guy that's playing out, Gray, I believe?
Yeah.
What are they particularly doing well with him in there right now?
What I was so impressed with, he had the ability to improvise and make some plays. I mean, he on one play, he scrambled around, made 3 plays, missed them, and found an open receiver. And so he's got excellent mobility. He's able to find open receivers. He's got good speed, and I think he's becoming much more comfortable in the offense. Initially, when they started him, I think things were, a little bit, maybe his reads and progression. He's certainly delivering the ball faster, and he's playing better, and that's a big reason why they won convincingly.
Coach, you mentioned talking to the team about how this one sort of slipped away and resetting after jet lag. I mean, Did you get a sense of kind of just where the demeanor of this team is coming off of a couple losses in a row and being able to kind of bounce back?
That's always a challenge, you know. Sometimes you can come off one loss. We've had, you know, back-to-back losses, and we had an open week. It seems like forever since we played at home, and we need to embrace that. Our attitude is going to be important this week. There's a lot of really good things that we've done this year, and so I think to not be mindful of that. I think it's important for us to recognize that we've done good things, and we need to stay positive and build on those positive things, not have rose-colored glasses on though, and correct the errors that we've made both on the offensive side, the defensive side, and the kicking game. Any other questions? Okay, thanks a lot, everybody.